What's up? Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham, and we are live here on YouTube for the latest Chiefs news and rumors. We'll take all of your questions. Busy show coming up on today's show. So in the meantime, shout out your city and let us know where you guys are watching from. And I will get you guys some shout outs here in just a moment. Give me just a second here. Okay, what's up? We got Tony in Dallas, Amari in North Carolina. We've got, let's see. What's up, Robert? Markel says we should get Stephen Curry. Hey, if he could play a little slot, I wouldn't say no. K-Chapel in Kansas City, Missouri saying what's up? What's up, K-Chap? Matt Rader in Knoxville, Tennessee. Got Robert in the ATL. Jeremiah in Palmer Lake, Colorado. Brody Smith in Court, Sandy in Colorado as well. El Dorado, Kansas from Jaden. We've got Charles in Spokane, Washington. Brody in Cuero. We got Garrick in Arkansas. Jerome in Longmont, Colorado. Vacated Aunt in Florida. Jared in Joplin. We got Chris in Warrensburg. Dylan in Kansas City, Missouri. Rob in Rochester, New York. I'm good, Tony. Doing well. Hope all the people out there are doing good. Larry Jr. in Dallas, Texas from Kansas City. What's up? Markel says, what if Tom Brady was a football coach? What if? He's not, but what if? Scoot says Connecticut. Maxwell says, currently in Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Australia. Nice. Ryan in Kansas City, Missouri. Robert going to the beach tomorrow. That sounds nice. Hit the beach if you can. We're in Dallas, Texas. The weather's lovely today. It's like 80 degrees. So...
And we've been indoors all day.
Yeah, I know. It's just a luxurious opportunity here. Now we're grinding away here at work. Doug in Spokane. What's up, Doug? We got K-Chap in Chernobyl. Can't tell if you're trolling me or not, but appreciate you guys for tuning in. All right, tomorrow the NFL franchise tag window opens. So will the Chiefs franchise tag Orlando Brown? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Will the Chiefs franchise tag Orlando Brown? I thought you were, K-Chap. Tony says yes. Amari says yes. And remember, just because they tag him doesn't mean, A, for sure he'll be on the team this year. They could tag and trade him. Or B, that they can't get a long-term deal done. Both of those could still happen. Vacated says yes. Robert says yes. At first, then sign a long-term deal. Exactly. That could happen. Tylene. Jerome says yes. Latin says yes. Paul says yes. The correct answer is yes. It may not be tomorrow, but they have until March 7th to do so, and they'd be pretty foolish not to. So I fully expect Orlando Brown to get franchise tagged. Will Matt Nagy be the Chiefs head coach one day? Now, this is when things get interesting. Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. Will Matt Nagy end up replacing Andy Reid one day? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Dylan says no. Sunday says no. Jaden says yes. Tony typing 1, so yes. Shad and Jeremiah say no. Tony says yes. Dylan says no. Jerome, no. Ryan Wills says no. Charles says no. Tony Fuentes says yes. Chris Armstrong says no. Tylene says hope not. He was awful in Chicago. He was up and down in Chicago, but never got the offense rolling, which is what they hired him for. Maxwell says no. Samoan says no. Ryan says no. Robert says yes. Pamtree says yes. Brody says no. We'll see. I'm actually going to make this the actually, no, I like the pin poll. I want to see what you guys are saying on that. He's terrible. Well, we'll see. He wasn't great in Chicago, that's for sure. Would you sign Keenan Allen if he got cut? He's a proper cut candidate for the Chargers. They're going to have to make some moves to get under the cap number. So, would you sign him? S for sign, P for pass. This is the live poll question, so go vote there. A lot of trash talk from Keenan Allen to the Chiefs over the years, but you best believe I would sign him if he was available. Tony says pass. Dalen says sign. Kaysen says sign. Garrick says pass. Chris says sign. Depends from Ryan. Sure, it does depend on price. Someone says sign, but we'll have to let Juju go. Yeah, I mean, in this scenario, Juju would not return, but he may not anyway. Shad says sign. Get Mike Evans and DK Metcalf. I don't think you're getting both those guys. Pass, he can't stay healthy. Kind of a myth. Had some injuries this year, but the 4 years prior to that, only missed 3 games. Early in his career, had a lot of injury issues. In this past season, he did, but middle part of his career, he's actually been pretty healthy. Pamtree says sign. Min says sign. Paul says sign. About 69% saying sign. Tom Downey's favorite number. So see what happens. We'll see if he gets cut by the LA Chargers. Speaking of Juju, who will be or what team will he be on next year? If you think it's the Chiefs, type KC. If you think it's another team, type O. Or you can let me know in the comments which team you think will land Juju. KC for Chiefs, O for other. What you thinking? Tony says KC, so does Jaden, Amari, Chris, Dylan, Garrick, John, Jerome, Isaac, Tylene. Robert says the Falcons. Pamtree says KC, so does Dylan, Paul Amos, Wiley, Larry Jr. Brody's saying LF. I don't know who LF is. I don't know if you're trying to type KC, L is near K, and F is near C. Not sure. Ryan says KC 3-year deal. Ryan, Brody saying now Brody's saying KC. So Dakota says they should cut Brown Jr. Well, they don't have to cut Orlando Brown. He's a free agent. They can just let him walk. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see what happens with Orlando Brown. But him getting cut is not a possibility. Here's what's coming up on today's live Chiefs Report. We get you caught up on the latest Chiefs news and rumors. We'll take some questions, 2 mailbags today, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat, to get your questions on the show. And then also a full list of Chiefs free agents. Chiefs have 20 impending free agents. We'll talk about some of those, or all of them, but spend more times on the big ones than the smaller ones. And I'll kind of give some input on which guys I would like to bring back. So here we go. Loaded Chiefs Report by Chat Sports coming up right now. My name is Harrison Graham, and you are watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. Let's go ahead and jump on into the latest rumors around the Kansas City Chiefs. Will Orlando Brown get franchise tagged again? The NFL franchise tag window opens on Tuesday. Brown's 2023 cap hit, if tagged, would be literally just under $20 million, 19.994, I think is the third digit there, but just under $20 million if Orlando Brown were to get tagged. Here are some key franchise tag dates. I mentioned that the tag window, that's supposed to be, it opens February 21st. Then you've got until March 7th. That's when the tag window closes. So if you're going to designate someone for the franchise tag, you've got from February 21st to March 7th. And then also players have until – or teams and players have until July 15th for franchise tag players to work out a long-term deal. If no deal is reached by July 15th, then you play the next season under the tag, which is what happened to Orlando Brown this last year. So just because they tag Orlando Brown, which they will tag him initially, I'd be shocked if they did not, starting on the 21st, sometime between that and the 7th, they will tag him, doesn't mean he could not get a long-term deal. You have until July 15th. Remember last year we were convinced that both sides would agree to a long-term deal. It didn't happen, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen this year. So we'll see what happens on that front. More thought and consideration on this topic. Do want you guys to weigh in on the show, though. What do you guys think will happen with Orlando Brown? Will they tag him, or will they let him test the market? Type F for franchise tag, or type T for test the market. What do you guys think will happen with Orlando Brown this offseason? Take a look at Brown's tenure in Kansas City, his PFF grades, plus a couple of other categorical stats. Overall in pass block and run block has been very similar, right? And what's been funny about both the seasons, they've also been similar as well, where early on in the season he struggled a bit, he's given up more pressures. Then he kind of settles in and finishes the season strong. We saw how great he was in the Super Bowl. 4 sacks allowed, 7 penalties versus 6. So he's been virtually the same player for 2 seasons since coming over to Kansas City after that trade with Baltimore. Now, you look at the highest paid offensive tackles in the NFL, 4 left tackles, then Ryan Ramczyk, who's a right tackle. Trent Williams and David Bakhtiari over $23 million. Laramie Tunsil at $22. Then a pretty notable drop-off, $19.75 to Ronnie Stanley, Ryan Ramczyk, $19.2 million. And, I said it last year, $21 million feels about right for Orlando Brown. And if you just kind of want to revisit, I was kind of thinking, didn't they offer him a contract? I couldn't remember. Well, this is what was reported from Adam Schefter, is that no deal got done, but the Chiefs offered 6 years, $139 million, which is over $23 million average, which included a $30.25 million signing bonus and $95 million for the first 5 years. Both sides hope for a new deal after this season. So technically, they would have made him the highest paid on per year average. But remember, this deal, more details came out. It was basically a 5-year, $95 million deal with no guaranteed money on the final year. It was more front loaded. So yes, the per average over the 6 years was over $23 million. But the 6th year was a long shot to ever happen. They would have cut him after year 5 at the latest. So you look at it this way, it's really just $19 million, and that's less than Ronnie Stanley. And while I wouldn't reset necessarily the market with Orlando Brown, I could understand why he wouldn't take that deal, because he could make more on the open market if he were to reach it. But in the Chiefs' case, they had the leverage with the franchise tag and do once again this offseason. So I see both sides of it. Would you make Orlando Brown the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL? Type Y for yes, type in for no. This is the pinned comment on today's video. I give my take after this YouTube ad break. All right, so here's my take. Here's what I would offer. I would offer him 5 years, $100 to $105 million, 2021 per year average. Give him 105, $21 million per year. That makes him the 3rd highest paid tackle in the NFL, when he's probably not the 3rd best tackle. He's top 10, but I don't think he's top 5. But I do think I would give him that. And I would give him $70 million guaranteed. 70% of it guaranteed. Otherwise, if he doesn't want to take that deal, he can play on the tag again. You can have him for less than $20 million this year on the franchise tag. So the Chiefs still have leverage for another year. Now, next year they would lose that leverage, but that is what I would offer for Orlando Brown. Again, you let me know if you would make him the highest paid tackle in the NFL. Now, something you should definitely do, spend a few bucks on, is some Chiefs Super Bowl 57 championship gear. Still a lot of stuff in stock. We got hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more when you go to the link on screen below, chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. That is chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. Like I said, tons of gear. There's other little memorabilia items you can find there as well. Chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. That is chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. Get your Super Bowl championship gear today. And hey, more Super Bowls could be coming down the line. That link will be in the comments and in the description of this video. All right, let's talk coaching staff now. Matt Nagy replacing Andy Reid. It's actually been discussed before. A report coming out that Nagy is expected to be elevated to offensive coordinator. They're going to have to go through interview process and, do the Rooney Rule stuff and all of that. But he is the expected OC for this year. But apparently he could end up replacing Andy Reid as head coach eventually as well. Here's Aaron Wilson, NFL insider for PFN, saying that Chiefs senior offensive assistant quarterbacks coach Matt Nagy expected to be elevated to offensive coordinator after Eric Bieniemy was hired by the Commanders. Nagy is a top candidate to eventually replace Andy Reid per sources. Succession plan is likely in the next 3 years. Now, I don't know about a specific timeline on that, but couple thoughts here. One, I still have questions on Matt Nagy's play calling, but Mahomes does make things easier. I do have questions about that. So if he were to eventually become head coach, is he calling plays or is he delegating that to someone else? I would hope he would have a play caller in place to do that, even if the concepts are, Andy Reid style, his style, etc. Number two, this has actually been rumored before. This was rumored when he took the QB coaching job last season to get back on this staff after serving under Andy Reid for a number of years before landing the Bears job. Albert Breer reported this last year that Matt Nagy could eventually replace Andy Reid as head coach of this franchise for a few reasons. Here are some of those reasons. One, Brett Veach loves Matt Nagy, and they have a relationship that dates back to the 1990s. They played college football together at the University of Delaware, I believe in the late 90s. I'd have to go look at the exact years, but they played together at the University of Delaware. Number two, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes both trust Matt Nagy. So if Reid retires, he would probably give his his seal of approval to Matt Nagy to replace him. Number 3, albeit it wasn't, a great run in Chicago, he does have head coaching experience, did lead them to 2 playoff appearances, did win Coach of the Year in 2018 as well. And then it would keep continuity, right? Matt Nagy's a guy that's been on the staff for a while. Again, Mahomes trusts him. Brett Veach knows him. So you could kind of, in theory, keep the train rolling if you think he is a worthy replacement of Andy Reid. Now, again, you look at his time in Chicago, and we've talked about this on a few different videos over the past week. Not completely his fault. The quarterback situation wasn't ideal, but a constant theme was that regardless of who was playing quarterback, Matt Nagy never got this offense going in Chicago. Now, again, if you have Patrick Mahomes, it makes it a lot easier, and I don't think it would fall off a cliff without Andy Reid. But when Andy Reid one day does retire, I think there's at least reason for pause before just giving Matt Nagy the keys to the castle, if that makes sense. So just throwing that out there. Not saying he's a bad candidate, but I do hope when that day does come that Brett Veach, if he's still GM, whoever else is involved, does a real coaching search. Will Matt Nagy eventually be the Chiefs head coach one day? Will that happen? Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Now, you can subscribe to the channel when news drops, like when Matt Nagy eventually gets elevated to OC officially. We will cover that here on the show. When other storylines emerge, we're going to have you guys covered. YouTube.com/ChiefsTV. We got free agency coming up, the draft in April. Going to be a fun offseason as the Chiefs look to retool for another Super Bowl run. So go ahead and subscribe. Don't miss any of it here on the channel. Oh, here's a juicy one. Could Kansas City sign Keenan Allen? Well, first he has to get cut, but Allen is a strong cut candidate per reports because the Chargers are like $22 million over the cap, and they got to get under that number before free agency, and cutting Keenan Allen saves them a decent chunk of change to help do that. And look, this would be quite the twist, right? Because Keenan Allen has talked a lot of trash to the Chiefs over the years, vice versa from the Chiefs side. Obviously, Chargers are a division rival, but Keenan Allen's a good football player, and Brett Veach is a smart GM who always looks to improve this roster. And on the wrong side of 30, you might be able to get a number 1 caliber receiver for not number 1 receiver money because he is a little older. He did have some injuries this past year. Now, he's still really good in 10 games at over 750 yards. So, I mean, if he played a full season, he would have had probably 1,200 yards, 7-8 touchdowns. And it's a bit of a myth that he's super injury prone. Early in his career in this past season, he dealt with a hamstring issue, but from like 18 to 21, he only missed 3 total games. So he's actually been really available for the Chargers in recent years prior to 2022. And with Juju Smith-Schuster and McCole Hardman set to be free agents, Justin Watson as well, then I think that bringing in a guy like Allen could be interesting, especially if Juju chooses to take top money elsewhere. Hey, here's my advice to Keenan Allen if he gets cut. Hey, I know you've had beef with the Chiefs. You want to win a Super Bowl? Come to Kansas City. You've seen him do it twice over the past 4 years. He gets open with ease. I mean, him and Mahomes would have an instant connection, I would have to think. I've always admired Keenan Allen's game from afar. He plays the right way, plays with a good spirit and attitude about him. So if he's available, sign me up. I like Keenan Allen. I think he's a damn good player. Would you sign Keenan Allen if he got cut by the Chargers? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Type S for sign, P for pass when it comes to Keenan Allen. Again, I would sign him. I mean, if you could get him at could you get him like 15, 16 million? I mean, I would do a 2-year, $33, $34 million deal for him. So get your votes in, S for sign or type P for pass. Get some shout-outs here on the Chiefs Report. Tylene says S if he shuts his mouth. Charles and Paul say S. Amari says S. Listen, I know he's talked a lot of trash over the years, but hey, Juju, people thought he liked TikTok better than football, and Juju fit in fine. So you bring guys into Chiefs culture, it usually works out. Sandy says sign. I would sign him. I think Keenan Allen's a good player. I think in a vacuum, he's better than Juju. And I like Juju, but I think I would take Keenan Allen. I think I would take Keenan Allen. All right, first of 2 mailbags coming up here. So use hashtag Chiefs, or you can skip the line with the Super Chat. No Super Chats yet, so if you Super Chat a question into the show, you will get to get on our mailbag first. So throw in a hashtag Chiefs and ask your question, or you can send in a super chat. All donations are appreciated, and they really help us grow. So we'll take all of your questions here, at least as many as we can. And then if you don't get on this mailbag, we'll have another mailbag here in about 20, 30 minutes. So stick around for that one as well. Today's Chiefs Report mailbag is sponsored by RexMD. Go to rexmd.com/chat. Get up to 90% off branded and generic Cialis and Viagra. There's no shame if you're having trouble getting it up. RexMD is going to help you out, and you don't have to visit the doctor to do it. You can get it all online. rexmd.com/chat. Go check out RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. All right, it is mailbag time, so I am Harrison Graham. Let's get to our first question here. From Ollie, thoughts on tag and trade Orlando Brown, and what's the value for him, and what could be the asking price for Chris Jones? Well, let's take this one step at a time here. Orlando Brown, tag and trade. I wouldn't completely dismiss it, and here's why. If he holds so firm on wanting, top dollar, he wants to make more than Trent Williams, well, I'm not giving him that. I'm just going to franchise tag him. Well, what if he says, well, I played under the tag last year. I'm not doing it this year. You could call his bluff, and I do think he'd eventually report, but he skipped training camp last year, and then I think that affected him early on in the season. What if a team throws you a first-round pick, like a top 20 pick for Orlando Brown? I'm not saying I'd take it, but would I listen to it? I might. I might be willing to listen to that. I like Orlando Brown. I've been hard on him at times. He hasn't been the perfect player in this offense, but he delivered in the Super Bowl, man. He was great in the second half of this year. So preferably I'd bring him back, but I don't think you can completely rule out a tag and trade. And real quick on Chris Jones, he made $21 million per year on his last deal, has one more year on that deal this year. He could ask for 25 plus, man. Aaron Donald got 31, and he's better than Donald now. I don't think he'll get 30 plus, but he would not be in the wrong to ask for 25 or more. From Alec Corpora, whatever happened to Cornell Powell? Super chat, appreciate that, my friend. He signed a reserve futures contract, so he's going to be on the 90-man roster this offseason, and, maybe he fights for a roster spot. Think about the free agents you have. Juju, free agent. McCole Hardman, free agent. Justin Watson, free agent. Well, Justin Watson came out of nowhere. If Cornell Powell can elevate his game, maybe he becomes that Justin Watson role as a number 5 type receiver on this 53. I haven't seen it from him. He obviously hasn't shown a lot in 2 years, but, he'll get another chance this offseason to show what he's got. Terry Black, is Michael Thomas worth the risk? It's an interesting question. I mean, what if Juju gets $20 million per year on the open market? Well, maybe you could sign Michael Thomas. He will get cut eventually by the Saints to some incentive-based deal where he's guaranteed $8 million, but he can make up to 20 with games played, certain statistical milestones, etc. I think it'd be smart for him, number one, just like I think it was smart for Juju to come play in this offense. Come play in Kansas City for a year, 1 year incentive-based deal, ball out, go get the bag elsewhere next year. I could see it happening. I think the Chiefs would like it. I think Michael Thomas would benefit from it. I would absolutely take the risk of signing Michael Thomas if it was an incentive-based deal. Now, would you, be honest with me, would you take the risk of signing Michael Thomas? He's only played in 10 games in 3 seasons. Type S for sign or P for pass. I would. I think he would fit in well here. Get your votes in down in the comment section below. S for sign Thomas, P for pass on him. From Shad Jameson, do you think Justin Ross makes the final 53 next season? As of now, I would guess no, just because of his injury history and him having to take this as basically an injury medical year again. But, I mean, he's talented. He's clearly a talented player. The Chiefs would not mess with him in his injury history if he did not have the talent. So I wouldn't rule it out. I would bet against it, probably. But big offseason for him. If he can be healthy for OTAs and minicamp and all that stuff, then that gives him a chance to fight for a roster spot. From Julia Colton, Titans are going to cut OT Taylor Lewan. Should the Chiefs make an offer? There's chatter Lewan could retire too, so we'll see. Not opposed. I mean, listen, Orlando Brown's a free agent. I think he'll get tagged and probably be back, but technically he's a free agent. And Andrew Wiley's a free agent too. Maybe you flip Taylor Lewan to right tackle, 1 year deal. Wouldn't be opposed to signing him. I don't think with his injuries recently, he's a signed, guaranteed to start guy, but he could come in, compete, and if he's healthy, yeah, maybe he's your starting right tackle. I would not be opposed to signing him. From Jerome Bunkers, who did the Chiefs actually get from Tyreek trade? Wondering because Juju signed on March 20th. Tyreek signed with the Dolphins on March 23rd. Well, they got that first-round pick last year, George Karlaftis. They got the 50th pick, which was that Sky Moore? They had multiple second-round picks. They also drafted safety out of Cincinnati. I'm totally Brian Cook. Thank you, producer Sam. Fourth-round pick, and that might have been the Josh Williams pick, who you got, and he played a big role this year. And a fourth and a sixth this year, so we'll see. Look, it gave you cap flexibility, and all the picks you got, the extra picks, even if it didn't come directly from that trade, you end up finding a Jalen Watson in the 7th round. That trade's probably going to end up being a win-win. He helped Tua tremendously, and the Chiefs were more efficient offensively and had a more well-rounded roster, considering they didn't have to pay him $30 million. So, I think looking back so far through a year, the Chiefs are perfectly content with how that trade played out. From Tom, what's the biggest need going into the draft? I'll still say edge rusher because I don't know what is going to happen with Frank Clark. He's still an inconsistent regular season player. Now, I'd try to bring him back because he's just so good in the playoffs. But I still think you need a pass rusher, although I like George Karlaftis. Dunlap's a free agent too, so you need help there. And then probably receiver because Juju, Hardman, and Watson are free agents. 3 of your top 5 receivers this year. So, I think you gotta probably add a piece there if you don't re-sign Juju or get someone in free agency or on the trade market. Now, today's show is sponsored by Rex MD, and fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? We've all been there. It happens. We've all had those nights where we get too nervous or maybe you've had too much to drink, but there's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift and drive when you need it the most, if you know what I'm saying. But have no fear. RexMD is here spreading cheer even when you have had too many beers. RexMD.com/chat to get a nice deal we'll tell you about in a second. RexMD is a FDA-approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's Chiefs Report to help you always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all of the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. It's all online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no copays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our link. That's RexMD.com/chat. RexMD.com/chat. Maybe you had a little slip up on Valentine's Day and you're looking to bounce back. Get going with RexMD. RexMD.com/chat. Especially as you get older, no reason to get embarrassed. They're going to help you out. You don't have to visit a doctor in person. RexMD.com/chat. That link is in the description and it's in the comments of today's video. Robert is next up. Who will be the Chiefs' first pick in the draft? So they pick at 31, obviously. Look, the Chiefs are in a spot where they can go best player available, but I just mentioned edge rusher, wide receiver. I think you could go potentially defensive tackle, depending on who's available, because obviously you have Chris Jones, but Kalen Saunders and Derek Nottie are both free agents. Tershawn Wharton, a restricted free agent, so could use another defensive tackle. Safety, maybe. Juan Thornhill's a free agent, so we'll see. They might just roll with Brian Cook and Justin Reid. Hard to say there, but I don't know. Right tackle. I should have mentioned that. I don't think Andrew Wiley returns. I think he gets more money elsewhere, so I think right tackle is a position to target. From Kate Chapp, what's up, my guy? Kate Harrison, who do you think we will draft for backup QB? If they draft someone, they could sign a veteran. I like the day 3 guys. I mentioned them I did a Chad Henne replacements video. Subscribe, go check it out if you haven't. I like, the Stetson Bennett's, the Max Duggins, I'm trying to think of who else I mentioned on that video. Jaron Hall is another guy. Jake Haener I mentioned. Hendon Hooker, if he's in the 4th round, I might invest there. So there's some guys on day 3 that I like. I don't think Malik Cunningham. Oh, I'll throw another name out there. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I would take him as a backup. He's mobile, has a pretty strong arm. So those are a few names to bring in here, compete with Shane Buechele, and let the best man win. A super chat from Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. Thought on moving up for a wide receiver or edge, and if so, who should we draft? I do think trading up's a possibility. You have a couple extra picks. I think Veach has 11 picks this year, so you've got some extra ones. Remember, you got the extra third-round pick for Ryan Poles leaving to get another job. You've also got a couple extra picks from the Tyreek Hill trade. So I think moving up could happen. And, I would move up for a Quentin Johnston or a Jackson Smith-Njigba. Or what if one of these wide receiver offensive tackles that could play right tackle? What if, Broderick Jones is there at, 2022? Maybe move up, go get him. I think he's a plug-and-play starting right tackle if you want him to be. Funny guy, too. Do you want Matt Nagy to replace Andy Reid once the day comes? Who's funny guy 1, I wonder? I do. I'm conflicted because it's one of those things where I think you do have to trust the Chiefs if that's the route they go. These are some reasons why it could happen. We've talked about this a few times. Brett Veach and Nagy have a relationship dating back to when they played college football together. Andy Reid and Mahomes trust him. I think they would sign off on this. He does have head coaching experience, and a lot of times coaches do better the second time around than the first time. It would keep continuity with the staff, but he did struggle when he tried to be the play caller in Chicago. So if you told me he wasn't going to call plays if he took over as head coach, I'd be cool with that. If he did call plays, be a little hesitant. I did not love his play calling in Chicago, and I think sometimes certain head coaches just should not be play callers. They should just be more of that CEO type, and I think he could fall into that bucket. Now, who should replace Andy Reid when the day comes, when he does retire? Type M in if you think it's Matt Nagy. Type O if you think it's other. If you have a name you want to drop in the comments, let me know. It would have been awesome if, this was 3 years from now and Sean Payton still wasn't a coach somewhere and you just hire him, but he's obviously in Denver now. So let me know, who would you replace Reid with once he retires? Subscribe to the channel. More Chiefs news, rumors, Monday live shows, mailbags, more coming at you this offseason and all year round. We don't take off any time. Daily coverage here on the Chiefs Report. Best part, it's 100% free. So support the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Let's continue to grow this show. From Amari, do you think Kadarius Toney will have a big impact this year? I think so. If he's healthy, I think he's in line for a massive year. I mean, maybe he elevates to wide receiver 1. I wouldn't rule that out. We saw his impact since they traded for him. Obviously, he missed some time, but didn't get a ton of opportunities. But when he did, he made plays. He's explosive as a punt returner. He's great in space. Can turn on a dime. His skill set is fascinating. If he can be healthy, I think a big year could be in store. Tylene, would you like Jawan Taylor as a right tackle? He's a tackle from Jacksonville and is solid. I'd be open to it. I think a team's going to overpay him. I could see him getting $13, $15 million on the open market. I don't think the Chiefs would do that. You could bring back Andrew Wiley for, $7 or $8 million probably, which that might even be too expensive. I would honestly rather just start Lucas Niang, who makes hardly anything and showed promise last year before his injury, then give Jawan Taylor $10, $12, $15 million. He's a good pass blocker, not very good in the run, which is okay here, I suppose. You're going to throw the ball more, but I'm not overpaying for Jawan Taylor if I'm Kansas City. What is next for the Chiefs? Well, kind of all the stuff we're talking about, Tony. I think the first big decision is Orlando Brown, which I think they will franchise tag him, which gives them, again, 4 months to figure out what they want to do with him. Long-term contract, tag and trade, or just keep him on the tag. Juju's a big decision. And then, you got to put together your free agent and draft board. Decide what your biggest needs are. Frank Clark, potential restructure. Patrick Mahomes, contract restructure. I think that is a few different things to monitor this offseason. Daytime, he said, I sent you the video. Did you see it and want to show it to the kingdom? I did not see. Do you know when you sent it to me? My mentions were getting blown up over the last week because some tweet I was tagged in went viral, so I missed a lot of stuff. I'm scrolling back here. You may have to resend it to me. Maybe DM it to me. Maybe you did DM it to me. I'll look after the show, and if I find it, I'll try to show it on next Monday's live show. All right, appreciate it. Who should replace Andy Reid when he retires? Type MN for Matt Nagy. Type O for other. What do you guys think? What do you got? He said he did DM it, so I'm gonna glance here. What's your Twitter name? I've got my DMs open. I'm looking at the chat. Let me know. Tony says MN, Juice Tan, and Bill Chase say other. Mahomes himself says Matthew Nagy. Tony going with Nagy. Charles says Eric Bieniemy. That'd be quite the twist. Bring him back as head coach. HFA, Recon says Matt Nagy. We've got Jeremiah saying Bieniemy. Thoughts on John Ross? Yeah, they signed him to a futures deal, so we'll see what happens there. What are you guys thinking? Oh, yes. Saquon to the Chiefs, hashtag Chiefs. We'll get to that in our next mailbag. Paul saying Matt Nagy. We'll see what happens. Looking at the chat, my guy, I'm not seeing you. Let me know what your Twitter name is. So, oh, he's saying it's daytime. All right, let me see real quick. Sammy, why don't you get a few shout-outs here? Try to help this guy out.
Let's see what we got here. MN for Matt Nagy, O for over. Let me paste the question again there in the chat for everybody. HFA Recon said no. MN from Paul Amos. Shad Jameson says Mike Tomlin or Sean McVay. It's hard to imagine Mike Tomlin coaching anywhere else other than the Steelers at this point. It almost feels just like a lifer type of thing, but that'd be something. Sean McVay, everyone likes that young, high-flying offense. I think probably fits pretty well in Kansas City as well. O for other from James Hughes. Brad Crawford says MN. Keep getting those votes in. I can get another question up.
I've got this. Go full screen. I've got this ready to go. He tears an Eagle sign in his class. Let me pull this up here. Here we go. Can you guys see this? It's kind of glary, but he's holding up. He's got an Eagle sign. He's going to tear it, I think. Here we go. Oh, he's shredding the Eagle. Shredding the Eagle. I think that's an Eagles fan he's doing it in front of. Shambles, I tell you. Shout out Daytime Snake. Crumbling it up now. There it is. Shout out to Daytime.
That's good content.
Type Daytime in the chat. Daytime in the chat. He's a real one. This is why you subscribe. We'll get you guys involved in the show. Get you guys involved in the show. That's good stuff. You're a real one, Daytime. Red Hood, Bill Chase, Patrick all saying Daytime. That's good stuff. All right. We'll get back to another mailbag in about 10 or 15 minutes. But coming up next, we're going to break down the full list of Chiefs free agents. I'm Harrison Graham, and you are watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, a full list and breakdown of all 20 of the Chiefs 2023 free agents. Technically, it would have been 21, but Chad Henne retired. Shout out Chad Henne. Type 4 in the comments to wish him a happy retirement. All right, we're going to break down these free agents. We'll spend more time on the bigger ones than others. Let's go ahead and start here with Orlando Brown. That's obviously the big one here, as he's an unrestricted free agent and, of course, a tag candidate as well. Through 2 seasons, Orlando Brown has virtually been the same player. He's been good, not great, but very good. And it's kind of funny how both seasons have played out. I would say both seasons have been similar. He started slow. First half of 2021 and 2022 finished strong, and this year in particular, he was excellent in the Super Bowl, and that's when you need guys to be at their best. But when you look at the PFF grades, the sacks, allowed penalties, etc., again, he's been a really good player. I wouldn't say he's been reset the market good, but he has been an overall positive than a negative. He's certainly a strong franchise tag candidate once again, because the Chiefs can tag him, and his cap hit would be less than $20 million this year. So if he wants to reset the market at over $23 million, I don't think that'll happen, but could he take a 5-year, $110 million type of deal? Maybe. We'll see how the next few weeks go. I think he'll get tagged initially, and I'm sure discussions of a contract extension will then take place. Next up is Juju Smith-Schuster, who was probably the biggest acquisition in free agency last year. Him, and then, they threw money at Justin Reid, but he's still under contract. Juju, though, was fantastic in his 1 year here. He really was this past season, as I thought he played very, very well for Kansas City. He would have easily eclipsed 1,000 yards had he not dealt with an injury that caused him to miss a couple of games, but still had 933 yards and 78 catches. Only 3 touchdowns. You would have liked a little bit more production there, but I like what Juju brought to the table. I would bring him back for the right price, but, he came here trying to reset his value after a disappointing season or two, and then an injury-riddled season in 2021 with Pittsburgh. I think his value is probably pretty high, and in a thin free agent class at receiver, he could fetch $20 million potentially on the open market, so he could be a guy that gets let go. What do you guys think? Who is the bigger priority for Kansas City? If you think it's Orlando Brown, type OB. If you think it's Juju Smith-Schuster, just throw a Juju down in the comments below. I think it's Orlando Brown. You got to protect Mahomes at left tackle. You can find another receiver to replace Juju, so I'm going to type my OB. Another receiver, that is Mecole Hardman, who is set to hit the open market. He, of course, had a frustrating year in which he got hurt in Week 9. Played a little bit in the AFC Championship game, but got hurt again, missed the Super Bowl. So he essentially did not play the final 2.5 months of the year. He's a guy that I would potentially like to bring back, but I think he's likely gone. I think the Kadarius Toney trade really signaled that I don't think that Mecole Hardman will return. I think he is going to hit the open market, and I think a team will throw $10 million at him because he's got elite speed, and the Chiefs just aren't going to pay that. I mean, Sky Moore is the guy they drafted for a reason. He can play some of that role. Kadarius Toney is clearly going to do some of the gadgety stuff that Mecole did. I don't think Hardman returns next year. Next up is Andrew Wiley, who has played a variety of roles for this team, but played right tackle exclusively this year. And played it very well. Was awesome in the Super Bowl. Was rock solid all year. He's never going to be a star, but he's earned a pay raise. Played for $2.5 million this year. You're not getting him at that price tag next year. You're probably going to have to triple that. I think he could get $7.5, $8 million on the open market. He played like a starting caliber right tackle all season. He's earned his money. I would not blame him at all if he went and chased that money elsewhere. Hey, if he wants to come back for $4 or $5 million and the Chiefs want to pay it, I'm not going to say no. I would absolutely bring him back, but I just think it's probably likely that he will go and chase top dollar. How about Jerick McKinnon, who has just found a role here, man? He really has. I'm a big fan of McKinnon's game. I mean, what he did this year I thought was so impressive. Obviously, he's more of a factor in the passing game, both as a pass protector and as a receiving back. Can run the ball between the tackles some as well, don't get me wrong, but he's made his money as a receiving back and as a guy who can block. 10 total touchdowns this year, made some plays in the playoffs. I would bring back McKinnon and have that 1-2 punch with Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco's obviously going to be your lead back moving forward. We'll see what happens with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he's what was that? That was like a half-sneeze yawn. Clip that off somebody and tweet at me at HGramNFL. But I think I like the Pacheco-McKinnon 1-2 punch. I really do. I think Edwards-Helaire is done here. We'll get to Ronald Jones in a minute, who's a free agent. He's not a part of this thing. So, yeah, bring back Jerick McKinnon. Let's ride. I like that 1-2 punch out of the backfield. If you want more Chiefs free agency and draft rumors, that's going to ramp up here on this channel. Hit the subscribe button as free agency less than a month away, and the draft not long after that. So we're going to have some fun here on the Chiefs Report. It's youtube.com/ChiefsTV. Subscribe today and don't miss any of our coverage. Next grouping here, Juan Thornhill, the free agent safety, who I like quite a bit, took on a leadership role. I got to talk to him for a few minutes leading up to the Super Bowl down in Phoenix, and you could tell he took that leadership role on with pride, but he could look to max out financially, and that's unlikely to happen here, so there's a real chance he's gone. Kalen Saunders, the defensive tackle, had a breakout campaign here in 2022. 48 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. I mean, he really basically became a starter for this team next to Chris Jones, and I thought he played really, really well. Had a couple nice pressures in the Super Bowl also. You've also got Derek Nagy, who's been here for a while as a veteran defensive tackle. I got to be honest, I didn't think I'd be saying this. I would rather have Saunders back than Nagy. He's younger. He's more explosive in terms of being able to get after the quarterback. Now, Nagy knows his role. He stops the run well. But if you had to pick one, I think I would bring Kalen Saunders back. Now, again, he might get some money somewhere. I mean, he's a young bowling ball defensive tackle. He might get $5-6 million. I don't know. Derek Nagy probably would be cheaper. So maybe the Chiefs opt to do that. But Kalen Saunders, he was solid this year. I mean, they finally saw the explosive athlete that we saw when he was coming out of, wherever it was. I can't remember what small school, Western Illinois, I believe, when he was doing backflips on the turf and stuff. But he finally was able to prove how good he could be this year. Who would you rather have at defensive tackle if you had to pick one? Type KS for Kalen Saunders, DN for Derek Nagy. I'd bring back Saunders if he's available. Curious to see what you guys think. Elsewhere on the defensive line, it is Carlos Dunlap, who served as honestly an ideal rotation guy, right? 4 sacks in 2022. He was a part of that defensive line that was second in the NFL behind only the Eagles in sack production. If he wants to come back for cheap and be a rotation pass rusher, I'm certainly down. I don't think he's someone that's going to be able to make a lot of money in free agency. He's certainly older, not the player he used to be, but 3 to 5 sacks probably is what you could expect out of him next year. 1 year, $3 million. I'd bring him back. I think he could produce for this team. Blake Bell, the tight end, who missed most of the year with that hip injury, came back late but was inactive for the AFC title game and the Super Bowl. I'd be surprised if he was back just because you've got Travis Kelce, you've got Noah Gray, and you've got Jody Fortson, who are all ahead of him in the pecking order. So if he comes back, he's your 4th tight end. Producer Sam Brown, Oklahoma alum's not a fan of it, but he could probably have a bigger role for another team. Now we got some Chiefs Super Bowl champs gear available for you guys, and the Belldozers won 2 of them now. So if you want to wear the same shirt he's rocking, chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. We got hats available as well. These are the same hats Mahomes and Kelce were rocking on the field in Phoenix just after they won. Hoodies, all kinds of stuff. Chatsports.com/ChiefsSB. Check that link in the comments in the description of this video. Go celebrate being a Super Bowl champion. It never gets old. All right, next grouping here. Nick Allegretti, who's really played a nice role for this team. Got to play a decent amount 2 years ago when they had some injuries up front. He's a good backup lineman who can play guard and center. I would bring him back if it's a vet minimum deal to be a backup, but we shall see. How about Justin Watson, who surprised all of us when he had a big spring? Patrick Mahomes, that famous report of him calling Brett Veach during, I think, OTAs and was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's pretty damn good. And he made some big plays for this team. I think he's a great number 4, number 5 type of receiver. If he wants to come back for cheap, I'm down. Maybe he looks to play for a different team and get a little bit more than the vet minimum. But I think he surprised all of us, and he certainly surprised me with how he played this year. I like Deion Bush. He signed a 1-year deal to be a special teams ace, served that role well. Can be a 3rd, 4th safety also and hold his own in coverage. We'll see what his future looks like. Fullback Michael Burton, this one's pretty simple. If he wants to come back, he will. If he doesn't, he won't. We know the Chiefs will carry a fullback in this offense. Just remains to be seen if it'll be Michael Burton or someone else. Pretty confident in saying Ronald Jones will not be back. He asked to be cut after the trade deadline. He was not. He was active in the Super Bowl over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he didn't play. Producer Sam Brown can attest. When we were talking to players down in Phoenix, he was more often than not kind of just sitting on his phone in the corner. I just don't think he meshed well with this team for whatever reason. I think I'm pretty confident in saying he will be playing for a different team next year. Now, name an external free agent the Chiefs should sign. If you don't know what external means, if you haven't reached that English class in your high school, that is someone who wasn't on the Chiefs last year, like Odell Beckham. I almost said Orlando Brown. That would be internal. Like Odell Beckham is who I meant to say. Name someone out there you would like to see the Chiefs sign in free agency. All right, a different grouping of free agents here. These are either restricted free agents or exclusive rights free agents. Tommy Townsend first up here. He will be retained. He's one of the best punters in the NFL. I know that whole story from Dustin Colquitt, former Chiefs punter. Townsend's a great punter, but he doesn't hold the ball well as the holder. Well, when you average well over 50 yards a punt, you're going to be back. So they're going to bring him back. They will pay him. Tershawn Wharton's an interesting one. He was really solid last year, gets hurt this year. He was kind of a hidden gem as an undrafted free agent a couple years ago. Do you bring him back? I think it probably depends on what he could get on the open market, and also what do they do with Kalen Saunders and Derek Nottie? I think all of that works together. Jody Fortson, all three of these next ones should all 99.9% be back. Exclusive rights free agents. That basically means they have to sign with the Chiefs or they can't play, and they're all going to come back. Fortson will be back. The Chiefs like him. He likes the Chiefs. Shane Buechele will definitely be back. He's got a chance to be the backup quarterback next year. And then Prince Tegawanagu, a cheap backup tackle option. He was active for most games this year. All three of those guys will be back because they're cost-friendly, and they really don't have a choice. They have to play it for the Chiefs. And I think the other two will be back. Tommy Townsend for sure. The one wild card is Wharton, but if I had to guess, him coming off that ACL tear, I think all five of those players should return, and they'll be very, very cheap and won't really cost against the salary cap. So there you have it. That is the full list of Chiefs 2023 free agents. Brett Veach has some big decisions coming up, starting with Orlando Brown and Juju, and then we will go from there. And we'll cover it all. As moves start to happen, as news starts to drop, we will have you covered. So hit that subscribe button here on the Chiefs Report. All right, name an external free agent the Chiefs should sign. Charles says Mike Evans or OBJ. Well, Evans would be a trade target. He's got one more year. Jesse Bates, Dante Pettis, yes. Yannick Ngakoue. I would like Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue. However you want to pronounce it. Yannick. We got to repeat his champs. I hope so, man. I hope so. Joey Bosa, he's not a free agent. Austin Eckler, not a free agent. Mike Evans, not a free agent. Yeah, receiver, edge rusher. I think those are some positions. Jordan Poyer, maybe. Depends on cost. All right, one more mailbag here, then we're getting out of here. Hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. Get your questions on the show. Alan Lazard, I don't mind that one. It's got to be cheap enough, but I'd be open to it. OBJ, Jacoby Myers, Jason Kelsey. He's either retiring or staying with Philly, although it'd be sick. The problem is what, are you going to play him at guard? You're not moving Creed Humphrey to guard. And then which guard are you benching? You're not benching Joe Thuney, who makes $5-year, $80 million deal. Trey Smith, young stud, you're not benching him. It's not going to happen. Jason Kelsey's not going to happen. One more mailbag, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat, and then we're signing off here on a Monday. So load up your questions. That way producer Sam Brown can get them on the show. You're watching the Chiefs Report. I'm Harrison Graham, and today's mailbag is sponsored by Rex MD. Struggling in the bedroom to get it up, you gents? It happens. That's reality. Rex MD, the number one leader in men's telehealth, going to help you change that. You can get some branded and non-branded Viagra or Cialis at a big discount. Go to rexmd.com/chat to get that discount. We'll tell you a little bit more about Rex MD later on in the show. All right, it is mailbag time, and let's take some questions. From the man himself. I'm guessing not actually, but we'll pretend it is. What's up, Patrick? What running back should the Chiefs go for in free agency? I would bring back Jarrett McKinnon. You got Isaiah Pacheco. He's your lead back. McKinnon's your second back, third down back type. That can rotate in a lot. And then, cheap third back. I bet they cut Edwards-Helaire, but maybe he's back as your third running back. We'll see. But, I would re-sign McKinnon and roll with him and Pacheco. Wiley Coyote, how do you feel about signing Jacoby Myers as a free agent? I'm open to it. He's not a number one. So if you're losing Juju to sign him, I think Juju's better than Jacoby Myers. But he's a good player. Can play some outside, can play some slot. I wouldn't be opposed. It would depend on the price. From Dip4903, Brandon Cooks or D-Hop would be a good fit. I agreed. I would prefer to go D-Hop because he's a true number one. It would cost a little more in a trade and financially, but I don't think you'd have to give up a first-round pick to get him. Brandon Cooks, I mean, if you can get him for like a third, I'm in. But I'd probably rather go get DeAndre Hopkins. Funny guy, too. Do you want Matt Nagy to replace Andy Reid once the day comes? We'll see what happens. I definitely think it's at least a possibility. From Suck It Raiders, if Bijan Robinson slipped to number 31, would you draft him? # Chiefs. Yeah, got to start thinking about the draft a little bit here. I don't think so. Pacheco's really good, man. Now, I'm not saying he's better than Bijan, but again, you re-sign McKinnon, you're good at running back. Seriously. Pacheco and McKinnon is a good 1-2 punch. I don't think you need to overthink that. Now, Bijan's special. He's electric. I get all that. But you could get an impact player at a more vital position in the first round. You could go edge rusher. You could go receiver. You could even trade up if you want to do that. So as intriguing as it would be, if you draft Bijan, what are you doing with Pacheco? Is he your backup? Like, he's a lead back. He's 6'2", 210. He runs a 4.37, and he catches the ball well. You don't need to draft a running back in the first round. And the Chiefs learned their lesson by drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in round 1. He hasn't been that good. Pacheco in round 7 has already been much better. Again, not saying he's better than Bijan. I'm just making that point clear because I don't think they'll go that route. Would you draft Bijan Robinson at number 31 overall? Be honest with me. Type D for draft or P for pass. Pin comment on today's show. Let me know if you would draft or pass on Bijan Robinson. Brian Schaefer with a $1 super chat. Appreciate that. Tylene makes Sonny Dykes the head coach in the future, the TCU coach. My alma mater. I don't think Sonny Dykes is going to the NFL. I think he's a college coach. His dad was a longtime college coach. Yeah, I don't think that's something he's interested in. From Mahomes again, Saquon Barkley to the Chiefs. Again, for the reasons I just said, no. Number one, reports out there that Barkley wants $14 million per year. I'm not paying that for a running back for this team. And number two, Pacheco's dirt cheap and he's really good. And Jarrett McKinnon, bring him back as a cheap number 2 back. You're good to go. From Latin Assassin, sign Orlando Brown big money and save money on trading highest paid left guard Joe Thuney. You can draft a starting guard easier than a tackle. It's an interesting idea. I mean, I wonder what you would get by trading Joe Thuney. Could you get a first? I doubt it. Second? I think a pretty good chance you get a second. He's one of the best guards, if not the best guard in football. Maybe you get a first. I don't know. I don't know if I would do that because Joe Thuney plays a big part in this line, but clear out some of that money because he makes a lot. Go draft a guard in the first or second round. I'm not completely against it. I think I would keep him, but depending on the trade offers, I wouldn't completely rule it out. From Shad Jameson, do you think Trent McDuffie would be a better safety than corner? Not really. I think he played really well at corner this year. Obviously, he misjudged that jump ball to A.J. Brown in the end zone, but he was pretty solid as a rookie. He's got sticky cover skills. I don't think I'm messing with Trent McDuffie. Tony Fuentes, if Matt Nagy becomes head coach in the future, I'm willing to give him a chance. Yeah, look, the Chiefs are a smart organization. Brett Veach is a smart GM. If they hire Matt Nagy, I think we have to at least be open-minded. Now, I think it's fair to have some doubt and some reservations because his tenure in Chicago wasn't awesome, but at the same time, I don't think that we should just jump off a cliff if Matt Nagy gets that job one day. I think a lot of coaches learn from their first time as head coach, and coaches have had way worse tenures the first time around and gotten second chances. Nagy did make the playoffs twice and did win Coach of the Year in his first year, so it's not like he was a complete disaster. Now, if you're having disastrous results in the bedroom, then RexMD can change that. You can get up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage by visiting rexmd.com/chat. We've all had those nights, fellas, when we get a little nervous or maybe have had too much to drink. And look, there's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear. RexMD is here spreading cheer even when you have had too many beers. RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's Chiefs Report to help you always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to all men out there to last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything is online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no co pays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered. Save up to 90% off and pay only $2 per dosage by going to rexmd.com/chat. You can also get starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis, now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat. 90% off, only $2 per dose, delivered straight to your doorstep, and you don't have to leave your house for a doctor's visit. rexmd.com/chat. Get going once again in the bedroom. That link is in the comments and the description. Bill Chase, how about have Dan Reeves to replace Andy Reid when he retires? How about that idea? That's not something I'm very interested in. From Shad Jameson, do you think Andy Reid is now a top 5 NFL coach ever? That's tough to say. I mean, look, top 5 ever. He's fringe top 5. I think he's top 10 for sure. I mean, he's got multiple Super Bowls. He's been to 4. He's, one of the best offensive minds of all time. He's connected with so many different quarterbacks and gotten the most out of so many quarterbacks. He's for sure top 10, borderline top 5. He's very good. He's top 2 of his era. Belichick's the only one you could say is better. I think of his era, the second Super Bowl ring helped him surpass guys like Sean Payton, who I think he was already surpassed, but, other guys. I think he's past Tomlin right now. He's past those guys. But is he top 5? I mean, the Bill Walshes of the world. There's, Shula, Tom Landry. There's a lot of big-time coaches in NFL history. So he's top 10. Top 5, he's right there on the cusp. From Zen Charlie, would you sign Daron Payne to pair up with Chris Jones? That would be magical, but I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to afford that. He's going to get $20+ million per year. So you're going to invest $40+ million on your defensive tackle position. It'd be fun, but I don't think the Chiefs will go that route. From Beach, do you think we could trade Chris Jones for Myles Garrett? Even if you could, I wouldn't. I'd rather have Chris Jones because he's an interior rusher. I think if you can find interior pass rushers that can get pressure consistently, that is so valuable because quarterbacks hate facing pressure straight in their face. Because if they're coming on the edge, they can step up, or if they're mobile enough, they can wheel out. If they're in their face, you got to react quickly and get out. Chris Jones, and plus, Chris Jones can line up at edge just like he did in the AFC title game to sack Joe Burrow, which was a huge play. He's got that versatility. So I love Myles Garrett, but I would rather have Chris Jones. Really big Chiefs fan, is Hendon Hooker worth a 4th-round pick as a backup quarterback? So Hooker could fall to the 4th round because he's older. He tore his ACL. He could miss some of his rookie season, but he throws a nice deep ball. He's mobile. I would consider it. I think he could be a really good backup here in Kansas City, and then, maybe you trade him down the road or something like that. So I would think about that. I think what's more likely are like the Max Duggans, the Stetson Bennett's, the Dorian Thompson-Robinsons of the world, like 6th round. But we'll see what happens with Hooker. I'm fascinated to see where he gets drafted. Name an NFL draft sleeper this year. Who's someone on day 3 after the top 3 rounds that you're like, hey, this guy, he's going to be legit? Like, who's this year's Isaiah Pacheco? Let me know in the comments section. If you got a question, subscribe and join our mailbags like this one every single Monday. All you got to do is subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you know exactly when we go live. Almost always 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central Time on Mondays. There are exceptions. That's why you turn on your noties so you're notified when we do go live. From Sandy Wirtz, would you rather have D-Hop or Keenan Allen? I would rather sign Allen than trade for Hopkins, but if I have to trade for both, I'd rather have Hopkins. The reason I would rather sign Allen is because I don't have to give up any draft picks. But if the Chargers hold out for a trade and it costs more to trade for Hop, I'd rather trade more for Hop because I think he's better. But I would sign Allen if he was a free agent. I mean, that's something I would heavily consider. Freddie Martinez, if Quentin Johnston is available at 31, do you think the Chiefs should take him? I would. I'm biased, but I think he's a top 20 talent in this draft, and if he falls to 31, I think it's a steal. Mahomes really hasn't played with a receiver like him. He's 6'4", 215 with really good speed. Certain route concepts he probably needs to improve on, but he can get vertical. You can throw the ball to him in space. He's got a big catch radius. I think he's a very talented player. Cam Smith or Keely Ringo at 31? It's a tough one. I mean, they're both good. I actually interviewed Cam Smith out in Phoenix. He was there for Super Bowl Media Week. Got to interview him. He's confident he's the best corner in this draft, but I'm sure Ringo thinks the same. Ringo's got better physical tools, I think, but Smith might be, a little more polished as a cover guy. So it's tough to say. I like both. I also don't know if you really need a corner, if I'm being completely honest. You got Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Trent McDuffie, and L'Jarius Sneed. That's 4 starting caliber corners. So I don't think the Chiefs necessarily need to draft a corner that high. Christian Newton, would you draft Deuce Vaughn? Hell yes. He could be your third back, for real. Re-sign McKinnon, draft Deuce Vaughn, go Pacheco, McKinnon, Vaughn. Vaughn can also be kick return, punt return guy, and you could bring him in on some passing downs to catch the football out of the backfield. Hell yeah. 5th, 6th round. Let's go, Deuce. I know there's some K-State fans out there. How many wins for the Chiefs next season? 17-game schedule. How many will they win? They won 14 this year. I'll say same, 14. 14-3 in the regular season, 17 total because they're winning Super Bowl 58. All right, we'll get some shout-outs, and then we'll get out of here. Shout-out to everybody who's been – no loop. It's low enough. Plus, I'll push out news and rooms. Freddie says 15. Bill says 15. Tony says 13. Charles says 15. Tim says 15. 17 from Martin. Is next year the year they go for 17-0? We shall see. All right. Thanks to everybody who hung out. Shout out producer Sam Brown for hanging out with us today. We go live every Monday, 4 Eastern, 3 Central Time. More Chiefs updates every single Monday. And, of course, we have videos throughout the week. So subscribe, turn on those notifications. We will be live next Monday. If there's major news during the offseason, we'll go live for that as well. So we'll get you guys caught up on everything this offseason. Free agency just around the corner. Draft stuff's going to pick up. So never really stops. I mean, still celebrate that Super Bowl, but the road to Super Bowl 58 has already begun. My name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to sign off here on the Chiefs Report.